Okay, it's 8 a.m. in Melbourne, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening as appropriate to you, and welcome to our first webinar in what we hope will become a regular series. Um, as you've noticed, there's a chat window which you can use to ask questions, which I'll get to probably at the end of the meeting rather than through it. Otherwise, I've just got to keep looking at the chat window. Today's topic is tsPortal. It's a nice discrete topic to start with, and it is something that there was a lot of interest in after first showing the beginnings of this version at the training seminar in Las Vegas. So there's quite a bit to do, quite a bit to get through. So let's get started. So the first thing that was new in this version of tsPortal, and I must say that nobody has the version I'm showing, so even if I have updated your tsPortal in the last weeks or months, you don't have the version I'm about to show you, so we'll need to update you again after this web meeting. So, with version 4.7 of the software, you know that it is capable of now connecting to more than one database, not just a TimeStone database, but any other database that you may wish to create. Therefore, tsPortal needed to do likewise. tsPortal needed to be able to connect to those other databases as well as the TimeStone one. So that was the motivation for doing a new tsPortal. At the same time, I thought I would take the opportunity to address how it imported jobs and refreshed them, because people who have used it for a long time, and especially if you've got a very large database with thousands of jobs, you know that importing and refreshing jobs into tsPortal could take a long time, and I'm talking 20 minutes or so. So I addressed those two issues in the new version of tsPortal. Here's how. When you start tsPortal again, I won't restart, but when you start tsPortal again, launch it or refresh, file refresh, you are presented with this refresh window telling you the date that the data was last imported, the database that you're about to connect to or have connected to, seasons and job limit. When you get this tsPortal from me, the only database in there will be the TimeStone one. If you wish to add any other database that you may have created, just hit edit, come in here and enter the names of those other databases, matching exactly as you had named your new schemas. I have a testing database and I have a training database, so I'll add them to my connection window. Now hit OK. So now I will have a training database and a testing database to connect to. As I connect to them, for example, most of you guys will just keep connecting to your TimeStone database. You'll see that the number of jobs at the bottom changes. That's telling me my TimeStone database, which is actually a customer database, has 2,870 jobs. If I hit yes now, it will load all those 2,870 jobs, and it will take a long time. It will take just as long as the old tsPortal. But fortunately, we can now limit the number of jobs that we import. We could, for example, say, just give me the last 100 jobs, and that will now import or refresh the last 100 jobs in the TimeStone database by date order, by the order that you created them. I realize that's probably not of much use to you because you don't necessarily know which jobs are in your last 100. However, if you know that in a given season or a given year you photograph, for example, 80 jobs, if you set that limit to 100 and import, you know you're going to catch all the jobs in that particular season plus 20 more. Probably a better way to work though is to select the season that you wish to import. In my TimeStone database, as soon as you select the TimeStone database up there, it gives you a drop down of the seasons in your database. And for example, I can just select the fall 17 season. The jobs down the bottom changes to 153. That's telling me I have 153 jobs in the TimeStone database in the fall season, which if I hit yes now to import, obviously it will be a lot quicker than importing almost 3,000 jobs. I can still limit it. I could still change that number to something else. For example, that'll import the 50 most recent jobs in the fall 17 season. Now, I will actually be using today the training database, so I'll go to there, and that's telling me in my training database there are 62 jobs. I could still drop down the seasons. If I only want to import the 2018 jobs in my training database, there are 4 of them. For my purposes, I will leave it on all. 62 jobs won't take long to import. And I hit yes, and it goes off to your database and collects all the data for those 62 jobs that it needs. Now, a question was asked back in Vegas, is it possible just to bring in one job rather than a collection of jobs, rather than the whole season? Can we just bring in a particular job? We know exactly the job we want. At the time you couldn't, but since then you can. It's a preference depending on which way you want to work. If we go to edit preferences, you'll see at the top, data import and refresh, select whether to import and refresh multiple jobs or a particular job. If you want to just bring in a specific job, and that's the way you'd prefer to work, hit specific job and tell it which database you want to use. For example, the training database in my case becomes my default. Now when we launch tsPortal or we do a file refresh, it brings up a different window. It brings a window that you're familiar with from the apps, and you can in here just find any job you like, and you could see how quick that was because it's only bringing in one job. It's virtually instant. And if we wish to bring in another job, we just go back to file refresh and find something else. For example, the advanced search button brings up that window as well, so you don't even have to go to file refresh. And the quick search continues to work in the same way. So you're only ever bringing in a specific job. The job counter up the top here will only ever say 1. So which method would you prefer to work with? That's going to be up to you. My feeling is if you're using tsPortal for customer service and you're going to be looking up subjects, your customer service desk has tsPortal on it. The customer service operator doesn't know when the phone rings who the parent is going to be asking about, which kid they're calling about. So for the customer service person, it's best that they have lots of jobs in there loaded at once, so they can just look up a subject without having to know what job that kid is in. You, on the other hand, as an administrator, may wish to come in here to do reporting and just to look up something particular about the job. So for you, you may prefer to work in the single job mode, because as you can see, it's very quick just to bring in one job at a time. For today's meeting, I will go back to my preference, which is multiple jobs. And if I do file refresh now, I'm back to that window and I'll bring in all my jobs. Okay, so you just change that preference in edit preferences. Now, another thing that in the older tsPortal slowed it down a tad, or sometimes more than a tad, was the calculation of statistical information. By statistical information, I'm talking about things like the order totals, how many subjects are in a job. I'll just quickly find a job that I know has some orders. Coburg High School, my old school. Okay, you can see this job has lots of orders and they're all listed down there. But at the moment, there's nothing in the totals, nothing in the order totals, the paper order totals, the online order totals, no summaries up here as to the number of subjects, etc. In the old tsPortal, that used to all be calculated by default whenever you launched or refreshed, and it added to the slowness, because if you did have 3,000 jobs, it was doing those calculations, and they're quite hooky, some of those calculations for every single job. Now that's become an option. So rather than have it done automatically, there's 2 ways you can go about it. With this job in front of me, to get that information, I simply come up here and hit calculate totals. And it will ask me, do I want to calculate the totals for all the jobs or just the current job? That's obvious. If I just want this job, I hit current. If I hit all, it will behave in the older method of doing the calculations for all the jobs I've now imported. And we'll let that finish. So that is now an option. Now I realize even perhaps clicking that button may be too much work. You don't want to have to think about it. So again, there is a preference, edit preferences, calculate totals and averages. If you wish for it to always calculate those totals so you don't have to worry about that button, just select that option, calculate totals at import and refresh. That option will be off when you get this from me. You can turn it on yourself whenever you want to, if you want to use it that way. While we're in that preference screen, another option to do with totals is this one, which is quite new. Ignore $0 orders. By clicking that, if I go back, well, this job, we'll go back to Coburg. The ignore $0 orders option does just that. When it calculates the totals in the count, it ignores any orders that are of a $0 value. The reason for that is you may wish to give the teachers or the staff members a free package. You could select everybody in the staff folder. There could be 50 staff members, scan a free package. It does nothing to your revenue. It does nothing to the amount, but it would add 50 orders to the count, and you'd end up here with 134 orders instead of 84, and that of course affects your average and your true indication of what your average was. So if you wish to ignore any $0 orders, just check that option in preferences and it won't take them into account. While we're on the subject of averages, keep in mind the average is an average per subject. We reached the $68.11 figure by dividing 4,155 by the number of subjects ordered, 61. So it's 41.55 divided by 61, not 41.55 divided by 84. And I believe that is a better number for you. You want to know how much money you're making per kid, not necessarily per order, so to speak, per different order. If I order 3 orders for my daughter in 10 minutes intervals of $25 each, that sort of is a $75 order for that kid, not 3 $25 orders. So just a subtle difference there in the way it calculates the averages, something you need to keep in mind. Okay, so while we're in this screen, let's have a look at some things about the reports. Not a lot has changed with the reports that are in there, apart from some formatting changes to make them tighter and print better with PDF. But there are a couple of things I wanted to point out. If we go to reports, job financials, this is quite a popular report. It's essentially a summary of that information, that statistical information that was in the center bar for that particular job that we were on, Coburg High School. The question was asked, we like this report, but we want it for a whole season. We want to see this report for a whole season. You can do that from within here. You just, any job, just come in here for any job, then hit find and enter whatever search criteria you like. You could search for a different job altogether, but more likely if you just want to report on the 2017 season, for example, just type 2017 in there, hit enter. Now I've got a list of all my 2017 jobs with their statistical information, and you can export this to CSV and then bring it into Excel or whatever other program to do your statistical analysis on there. So you can run this report for a whole season if that's what you want to do. The other report that we need to consider is the checked and delivered report. There are 3 flavors of checked and delivered reports in tsPortal. Play around with them, see which one suits you. The one that most closely mirrors the report that's in Neopack is the first one, which groups your results by folder, so by class, teacher, homeroom, however you've organized your data, then by subject, and for each subject it lists their packages. The other 2 have a play of them as well, but this one is the one that closely mirrors what's in Neopack, with the notable exception that when you hit it, you are presented with the option to specify what orders you want to report on. You can see I'm reporting on the Coburg High School job, but I can limit the orders to a particular date range. And if you need to know how to enter date ranges in a format that FileMaker likes, just hit the help and it tells you the format there. Essentially, it's two dates separated by a couple of dots. You may wish to only look up orders that are paper orders or online orders or fulfill orders, and you can do that. And again, explanation of the codes to put in. But probably the best use of this is order set. People would like to report, would like a checked and delivered report just on a particular order set, notably a retakes order set or a late orders order set. So you just come in here and effectively you just enter the name of your order set. For example, retakes. Hit find. The report's ready, doesn't take long, and you can PDF that. And I'll just show you the report. Okay, so that's a checked and delivered report just on the retakes. The job, our search criteria was the job, obviously, Coburg High School, and the order set we typed in retakes. And this is a list of the orders in that retake set, grouped by folder first, which is their grade 1, 2 Burke, the subject, and then finally the packages they've ordered. If there are options like items and pose that you've scanned for that order, that is listed in the center section. So that is the checked and delivered report. Notable that you can specify which orders you wish for it to report on. So that's something refined. I wouldn't say it's brand new, but it is refined. What else is new? Emails. There's a couple of ways you can send emails. Broadly speaking, emails in tsPortal we can send in bulk across lots of subjects in a particular job or for a particular subject at a time. So if we go to a particular subject, just pick this guy. What's new here? Well, for a start, there are two email fields in there. There's one called email, you see it there, and one called collected. And you can see there's email addresses in both of them. The one on the left, email, that is any email address or addresses you've entered into details mode of Neopac. So we entered Jacob's own email, jacob99@gmail.com. You've got that email in details mode. That's fine. The one on the right, that's what we're calling collected emails. And they are any emails associated with that subject, including, notably, the email addresses for anybody that may have ordered for this subject online. So that particular subject, you can see that Haley's, probably his mother, has ordered as well, and his dad has also ordered. So they're two different email addresses, along with the email address that's in details mode. And you can email directly from in here by just clicking the email button. If I click that one, I can compose my email within tsPortal. It pre-fills the to address with that particular email address, and you can go ahead and start composing an email, keeping in mind that the email address or the email takes in a whole lot of @codes, so to personalize the email. For example, dear Jacob, click out of it to see what the code resolves to, come back into it to continue. So we can say something like your shoot key is at subject key. Okay, and off that goes a personalized email to him. I won't send that. And likewise, if we just click on the collected, we can do the same for the collected email addresses and send an email address. So that's sending emails one at a time for that particular subject. That's slightly new, slightly different. If you want to email the particular image, click on the image to display it, click again to get a bigger view. But we can just hit the email button here to do the same thing, except now that image will also be sent as an attachment to the email. So that's sending emails individually. We can also go send emails on bulk for a particular job. In the jobs mode itself, for a particular job, there's an emails menu. We can email all subjects, which is self-explanatory. So any subject that has an email address will get an email. The subjects with orders only. If you wish to send a thank you email to the people who have ordered, perhaps with a coupon to encourage them to go online to order some more, choose the middle option. Or the third option is the reverse, subjects without orders. If perhaps you wish to send them an email to remind them to order, and here's a coupon to encourage you to do so. Subjects with orders is what I've selected. Do you wish to add attachments? I won't go into the whole adding attachments to emails, how to add personalized attachments. It is something that we covered in the training in Las Vegas, and that movie is already on our website in the TimeStone Software YouTube channel. If you want more detail about email, where we spent probably a good hour just on the emailing through tsPortal. So I'll say no to that, and you can now send an email just to the kids who have ordered. Now, a couple of things on that when you're sending bulk emails. In preferences, it's some things to note when sending emails. If you are sending bulk emails, you really should be using an SMTP server rather than your own email client. Otherwise, your risk of getting bounces is enormous. If you have already an SMTP server, just enter the details in the bottom there. We suggest you use a third-party email SMTP server. The likelihood of bouncing is far reduced, and we recommend SMTP to go. We use that for iOS. They're very reputable and very cheap. You plug in all the details here, and that's the engine that it will use to send the emails. Set that up if you're going to be sending bulk emails. You also have the option now of deciding when you are sending multiple emails to subjects through a job, do we wish to send just to the subject email, i.e. the email that's in details mode, the customer email addresses, the emails that got collected from any online orders, or all of them, both those things, 1 and 2. You also have a new option there for privacy. What do I mean by that? If we take that Jacob as an example, he had an email address from his mum and an email address from his dad's order. With privacy mode off, they would each get an email, that's fine, but they would see that the other person got the email. Basically, those two email addresses would be in the to line. With privacy mode on, they won't know. They will get blind copied into the email, so they don't see that the other parent has received an email. So that's something to keep in mind. Probably just leave that on the whole time. The way it works, with privacy mode on, the to address becomes your from address. So in my case, support at TimeStone would be getting an email, which is not a bad thing because that effectively gives you a record of who's received an email. So your from address becomes the to address, and the other recipients, are blind copied into the email. So they'll never know who else got an email, which I think is a good thing. You also have an option to use SSL or not. By default, I would leave that on yes for security purposes. Putting it on no, if you don't care, will actually speed up how emails are sent, that's for sure. If you need help on any of these preferences for email, just click that little help button. Okay, so that's emails. Like I said, if you need more information on emails, have a look at the movie that's in our YouTube channel already. It is being used now. People are using that in bulk to send out an email to everybody to let them know their photos are online. Here's your shoot key. Go to our link and place an order, please. On the subject of orders, actually, while we're still in this mode, remember the calculate totals button, something I forgot to tell you about. The calculate totals is only available to the admin person connecting. So if you connect with the admin credentials, the credentials I give you when you get tsPortal from me, the calculate button works as advertised. If you connect with the lesser users, the tsPortal, the staff user, that button is inactive, and you may wish to make use of that if you don't want your customer service people to know what the totals are. They connect with the lesser user, that calculate totals button is therefore inactive. Now, as we said, speaking of orders, if we go into any particular order, just click a hyperlink or Control O to go to orders mode, you will see a new button in the top right hand corner, which can be your friend. Delete order. It will do exactly that. If we hit delete order, are you sure you want to permanently delete the order? That cannot be undone. So keep that in mind. It is a very useful and easy way to delete orders, but it's irreversible, obviously. The motivation for that is there's no other way to delete an order, a fulfill order. If you need to delete anything that's in fulfill, this is a way to do it. But it will work for any other order. Now, so keep that in mind. That's a lot of people have asked for that, but be careful with it. Another thing you can do with orders, it is quite a common thing for people who use fulfill to scan an order key barcode as the orders are ready to ship. So imagine you've printed your orders that have come in fulfill for the day. They are ready to go off to the courier. If your mailing label, which is often an order header, printed out of fulfill, let me see if I've got one real quick. Yep, this one will do nicely. This could easily be a mailing label or something, or an envelope stuffer for your fulfill orders, which is exactly what this is. And you notice the barcode has the order key. Now you have the ability to just close that order, close any orders, by scanning an order key barcode in orders mode or by manually typing it in. You don't have to find those orders first. We just go to File, Close Orders. It brings up the Close Order window. And I'm just going to scan 4 order keys that I have at random. Beware for the noise. Okay, I've just closed 4 orders. And you can see this particular order is now closed. Its status has changed from open to closed. If we need to reopen it again, we can just click open. So you can manually open and close orders this way, but the easiest thing to do is to scan a barcode. Now, why close orders? It gives you a record of when that order shipped. This is how it's being used. Imagine you've done that in your production room just before the order's gone off with UPS or similar. Then the following day, somebody calls up customer service and is asking about Brooklyn Cunningham's order. Your customer service can look her up. I'll show you just quickly how to look her up. For example, it's as easily as just typing in there. There's a few. So I should have put in the whole name, but there she is. And it might not have been the right one. Let me just find the right Brooklyn Cunningham, because I have a few of them. There we go. So you can see now that order has been closed. Actually, she had 2 orders that I closed. And notably the date, the C date is the close date, which happens to be today's date in my time, 29th of November. So we are able to tell her mother who's on the phone, yes, your order shipped on the 29th of November, you should get it whenever. That's the motivation behind closing orders. It's mainly used just for closing fulfill orders as they're ready to ship. You can also, while we're back in, we go back to subjects mode, close orders on bulk for a subject. I scanned an order key in orders mode. In subjects mode, if I do the same action but scan subject keys, and I'll just scan 4 subject keys that I have. Oh, I should click into it first. By scanning a subject key, what you're doing is closing all orders for a particular subject. So that's one of them that I just scanned, Giovanni Wiggins, and it closed all his orders. Likewise, another subject that I scanned, again, closed all their orders. So scan a subject key, closes any and all orders for that subject. Scan a order key, closes just a particular order. Now, talking about shipping and so forth, we have added some tracking information to the orders mode. You can see this particular person, this parent who can't spell his first name. The delivery address, if you hit view tracking, you are able to enter any tracking information you like. You could enter UPS tracking data, an Australia Post Express Express Post receipt, whatever information you like. You just enter it into here, and it sticks with this order, which again you can look up whenever you like. Those field headers are therefore generic because they'll be called different things for the different shipping companies. So that is new, just to be able to enter delivery tracking information for a particular order. And I do believe people are using this already. You can enter that manually, or if you know what you're doing, you can also import that information directly into your database, and it will be available for you to see here, which is not a bad thing, to tag your order in your data with the third-party courier company's tracking system. So we come on to the last topic, which is tasks. Now, tasks are not new. They were dropped with this new version of tsPortal, and I didn't realize how many people were using them because people said, no, if you please, you've got to put tasks back in. So I did, and made them a little bit different, behave a little bit different. The task window itself is a little bit different. It's a bit neater. Otherwise, the fields are the same. This is a particular task we have already in there. The subject the task is for, and we have a hyperlink. So when you see an underlined word, that is a link. So just hitting subject will shoot us off to that subject in the subjects mode, where you can see in the taskbar in the middle that she has one task. And if I hit the word task for a subject, it shoots me back to the task window, so we can go back and forth through there. Who the task was created by, you'll be able to obviously edit this yourself, unless you do have somebody called Rumpelstiltskin working for you. Same with who's it assigned to, which department, and so forth. And then finally who the caller is. If you need to enter more information than just her name, just click the caller button, and you can put in her phone number, address, etc., etc. The reason for the call, a brief reason there, and then finally more detailed information in the bigger edit window. You can see any tasks you have with the list button, and here we can find, for example, all the open tasks. Okay. So tasks is not new. One thing I need to emphasize is that the tasks, I have 29 of them. You'll end up with a lot more if you're going to be using tasks. Even the tasks are always visible, even if you haven't imported the jobs. So you may end up with 2,000 tasks, but then when you refresh, you only refresh 20 jobs. You'll still see the tasks for any jobs that you haven't refreshed into. So tasks are always visible. Keep in mind, if I had not refreshed to see this particular job, Greenville High School, it would be here, I'd see it. Everything would be a gray though. You wouldn't be able to hit the subject link to jump to subjects mode because the job wouldn't be in there. You wouldn't be able to hit the job link to jump to jobs mode because the job wouldn't be in there. And we can create a task for a job as well. That's less common, but you can go task, create a task level job. And you can see now there's no subject. We've created a task for this particular job. Enter whatever information you like. And likewise, we can create a task for an order. But the most common use of tasks is a subject level task. And obviously you can come in and change the status once it's closed and so forth. So that's tasks, not new, just refined a little bit. Another thing to point out with tasks, you don't create a task in the task window anymore. In the task window, you do it for whatever object you're creating a task for. So if we are creating a subject for a task, let me go, a task for a subject is probably what I meant to say. Okay. If we wish to create a task for Sheldon, you look up Sheldon and you hit add task there. Hit add task, it creates the task for you, fill in all the information. So you create the task in the appropriate mode, then fill in the information for the task, work with the task in the tasks window. I think we're just about done. One thing I should have mentioned in orders was the delete order button. That reminds me, the delete order button is also only available to the admin user. So if someone connects with lesser privileges, that button is also inactive. So let me address some of the questions. Will this webinar be available to view later? Yes. You guys who have joined the meeting will get it soon, and that could be as early as later today or tomorrow. Including, if I can, any transcript of the chat, so you can see the questions you may have entered. Eventually, and it could be a week from now, possibly after we do the next webinar, they'll end up on our YouTube channel, obviously without your chat, so you'll have privacy there. So if you delete the order and then refresh the jobs, does it put the order back? No, Sheldon. If you delete an order, it is deleted from the database. You're not just deleting it in here. That would serve no purpose. The delete order button in here does delete it from your Timestone database. It's gone. Desiree has asked, Dino, can you tell me why it doesn't grab the new primary image to send via email for digital download? I don't know. I don't know what you're referring to, so I'll need to look that up. Possibly if you can email me with that question as well as a reminder, so I can look that up. You cannot enter orders through tsPortal? No, you certainly cannot not do that. Sad face. Is there a CSV option for the, I assume, Brandon, you meant the checked and delivered report? No, because that is that's formatted for printing. But you do have other reports that give you similar information. For example, this one, orders per package. That particular report, which is the sort of same sort of information, but in a spreadsheet format, you can certainly export that to CSV. Can we add a customer email address through Portal if it doesn't exist? Not at the moment, Bob, but that is something I have thought about. You will be able to do that, but not in the version you've just done. Likewise, you could add a subject level email address to go into details mode. Brandon and other questions come through. Is there a report to show you which orders are closed or open in a specific job? So if we go to orders mode, so no, I think the answer is no, Brandon. I'll have to check whether one of those reports actually does report on the order status, that is open or close. But again, keep in mind when you do launch any of those reports, there is a find button. If you hit find, you can then just enter your own find criteria. For example, if there's you can just enter closed or open and it will find those particular orders, even if there isn't an explicit report for that. But that's not a bad idea to add something to that for the future, like that for the future. Can you change? No. Can you change the email address? No, for the same reason you can't enter a new one. It doesn't have that direct connection back to the email fields. So you can't change it there. Likewise, you can't change people's names anymore in here. You used to. If there is demand for that, we'll put it back. Again, it's always a little bit of a challenge, a balance as to how much power you give people to fix things versus potentially break things. To look up tasks, Bob, there is a find button in here. So again, you can now look up a task, usually by a task key. Now the task key is a reference that you can give somebody. For example, if somebody calls you and asks for a reprint or something to be done, you can create a task on the fly, give them that task key, and that becomes their call reference. You ask them to, if they need to ring back, they can refer to that key and you could look up their task. Cliff, no, you cannot resend digital. There was problems inherent in that with tsPortal. It's quite devilishly difficult to do, and it works sometimes, not others. But you do have more control over that in Fulfill. There will be new installers coming out quite soon with updates to 4.7, and you'll see that some changes in Fulfill. If you feel that you need to have it back in here, the resending digitals within tsPortal, I can look at it again, but it is a bit tricky now, especially for a multiple database scenario. Okay, a couple of people still typing, so I'll give you a moment or two. Will there be a report available for tasks? We'll have to think about the format of the report. You have this already. You have the list. So this is effectively a report which lists all your tasks. There's a find in there if you only want to look at your open tasks, and you can close them, I believe, unless I've changed that. No, you can close them within here, within the report itself, which is rather neat. And you can export this task. This is the way it's being used by some people. They use this report, export it to CSV, hand it out to the different staff. Or they can just come in here if you've installed tsPortal on multiple computers. Yes, to that question, Andrew. Not all the reports made it back in initially. You've got packing report packages. Packing report at the product level is not there. It could end up going back. Again, it's a balance to the amount of work involved in putting it in. Also, that means there's a whole new level of data that needs to be imported if you're going to report on products, which there's overhead involved in that. Doesn't mean it can't be done. It'll slow things down a little bit. But now that you can open one job at a time, if it adds a second or two to the refresh time, that's probably not a big deal at all. But at the moment, it's not there, but it could end up going back for a future version. Okay, so I thank you. We're just about come on to an hour. I hope you found this webinar useful, and I will sign off. Okay, thanks guys. If the webcam was going, I'd be waving. Cheers.